Yo, man, what's the word? What's the word? What's that word, man? It's Fame of Clout, man. Death of the Clout Chaser. Y'all know what it is, right? We got some exclusive news, man. So we gonna break down this paperwork when it comes to Big U, Bricc Baby, Luce Cannon, and the other individuals that's involved. It's about 16, man, that's indicted on this particular RICO. It's called Operation Draws Down. Now, it's crazy because to me, I think it is a Big U Rico, even though they saying that he the leader of the 60s, is because the fact that they mentioned draws, like his name is Big Draws. You know what I'm saying? It's big draws, you got tiny draws, you got, probably list goes on, right? But one thing we're gonna do today is just come with official information, things that can actually help this particular situation. And some things Tommy Walker, he gonna probably say it's gonna be relevant to this content, but he's gonna give scenarios on other cases he probably worked on. Tommy Walker, if y'all not familiar, I'm gonna get him to introduce himself. But if y'all not familiar, he ain't freed over 1,000 people, man. You know what I mean? And some of the likes of some of the names that y'all probably know inside the media when it comes to kingpins, right? And Big U, he kind of being accused as a kingpin. 6-0. He one of the guys, one of the top members. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the U.S. government is basically saying. And Tommy Walker and free Guy Fisher, helped free him, helped freed Prince recently. Prince just got out of jail. That's Prince from the Supreme Team. So a lot of these OGs, man, you know, some of them even big you age, and it's crazy because, and that's another thing. I probably want to start there. But Tommy Walker, if you can introduce yourself, bro, and let them know a little bit about what you do.
How you doing? My name is Tommy Walker. I'm the owner of a company called Second Chance for Real, and we're a certified paralegal firm. And we're a firm that work with mostly people that's been incarcerated or people with loved ones who's incarcerated because we come to realize that the system is against us, and the system is, if we allow it, to put us away for the rest of our life or long enough to destroy your life or destroy you mentally. So we like to treat people as human beings and not as numbers or not as prisoners and stuff like that. We take on the hard, complicated cases that most people give up on. Most people don't even want to try. As far as my background, I was in the feds for 25 years. I had 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. While I was in the feds, I went to school. I educated myself. I worked for the law department there. I worked for the law library there as the lead clerk. And I also worked for a lot of lawyers voluntarily out on the streets. And I used to do a newspaper article, if you know anybody who's been in the feds or in the Max joint. I used to do a newspaper article that went to all of the federal penitentiaries and most of the federal jails. It used to be a legal awareness article educating people on the new laws, the changes in the laws, and so on, just in case they applied to their case and they were out on the basketball court playing basketball and had no idea that these new laws was out and available to reduce their sentence or modify their sentence. And today, like I said, we do a few podcasts. We educate people on different cases and different topics. Right now, without going into too much detail, I'm doing a closing argument in the Supreme Team documentary that will be coming out soon. It's an excellent documentary. It's educational. You have to watch it, and you will see how easy it is for the federal government to convict us in these crimes with little evidence or no evidence. And I think in Supreme case, he does an excellent job of showing that with his exhibits and his proof. But you just have a court that's turning a deaf ear to what he's trying to say. But you'll see more about that in the documentary if you watch it.
No, for sure, bro. So like, I know Tommy, like we sent you the paperwork, and you was able to look at everything, and like, what's your first thoughts at looking at that paperwork?
Well, my first thought is Another brother's going down, guilty or not guilty, and his life is going to be affected. His family is going to be affected, and it made me think back into the history. And I'm just going to give you guys a little history. In most of these cases, when I talk on them, I don't like to get into the gossip of who's hot, who's not, who's wrong, who's right, and stuff like that. But I like to educate us on the outside so we won't end up in the same shoes that these individuals are in, or to help you understand the system, how the system operates, and how the system works. And so if you have a loved one or you have somebody incarcerated, perhaps you can help them or assist them out of their situation as far as giving them a good understanding of the law and how the law is applicable to you and so on. But just to give you a little background in the history, in the early 80s and 90s, I know you mentioned Guy Fisher, you have Wallace Rice, you had Nicky Barnes, his co-defendants and stuff like that. You had John Gotti and his crew and stuff like that. These were a lot of drug kingpins, emphasis added on the word drug kingpins,
Right.
that the system was coming to get us. They were throwing us in jail for life sentences, 20 years, maximum, mandatory minimum sentences, and stuff like that. And that was the focus on us. They allow you, emphasis added, they allow you to sell those drugs for a certain amount of years, and then they come seize you, they take your property, they throw you in jail, and most of the money that most of these guys made back then end up going back to the system. That's lawyers, court costs, um, paying for a trial, getting their house seized, getting their car seized, and so on. Now today, that same war on drugs has converted, and now is a war on people in the music business and the industry. Back in the days, when we'd hang out on the corners, say if you lived on 4th Street, you would be called a 4th Street Boys, or you would be called a 4th Street boys in the hood. But now today, what they're doing is they're converting, they're changing the language, and they're calling everybody gangs and gang members so that you could fit within these RICO statutes, so that they can convict you and they can press charges against you with little evidence or no evidence at all. In most cases, what convict these individuals is not the evidence, it's the story that's being told. It's the threatening an individual of a life sentence, where the individual is so scared, even if he might not be guilty of the crime, he's willing to plead guilty to get out and to take a lower sentence. And you've seen that in Young Thug case.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We definitely seen that in the Young Thug case. And I want to mention, like, we can start with this. So, I noticed in the Young Thug case, right? It was a situation where, the first bond here, he had brung like Brian still had brung like 10 people, maybe a little bit less, but like at least 10 people up there to speak on Young Thug's behalf on how he was a, asset to the community, right? And they said that Brian still said that he had 100 some more. In this particular case, they saying that, on page 12, they saying that they got 50 witnesses and some of them are volunteers. So, like, when you hear that, what does that mean?
See, that's one of the concepts, and that's a good question. That's one of the concepts that I teach in my class, and to understand it, for example, my interpretation of the Constitution, right? We're told and we're fed that we have constitutional rights. In reality, if you research these cases, you research the data, in reality, we have what appeared to be a constitutional right. And in reality, it's actually a privilege.
Right.
In other words, you have a constitutional right, and when you want to exercise that constitutional right, then it's up to the prosecutor or the court system as to whether or not they're going to honor that constitutional right or respect that constitutional right. And speaking on that, in the Young Thug case, and if you also use Diddy case, right? For example, Diddy he's a first-time offender. This man was willing to offer $50 million for a bail.
Right.
And
That's true.
the court did not give him a bail. He can't get a bail. He has to stay in jail. So what does that say about a person's guaranteed right to a bail. Okay, what does that say about a person's guaranteed right to a speedy trial? You understand what I'm saying?
That's what I wanted to
You know,
get into, like the speedy trial shit too, right? So some of these guys could ask for a speedy trial, right? Meaning, look, man, whatever evidence you got right now, present it, and we gonna go for it right now. But tell the individuals that's watching this how that's not the case.
it's not the case because the government is, and some of these answers, I'm going to take you for a trip around the park so that you can get a full understanding of
Yeah,
it.
let's get it. Let's get it.
Okay, look at sports, right? Basketball court is played on the basketball court. Emphasis word in the word court. Tennis is played on the tennis courts, right? All of these are physical activities that involve challenging a component. In our American criminal justice system, the word court, you're not playing a physical game, you're playing a word game. So it's whoever's best with the word game usually has the edge in your court system. So a lot of times in our trials, if I can explain to you what a trial is to me, my definition, a trial is made up of three components: facts, a premise, and a conclusion, guilty or not guilty. In a lot of these cases, what happens is you start out on even playing fields, but the government, through their power and through the judge on their side, is allowed to manipulate the facts and the premises to justify their conclusion. You follow what I'm saying? And one example of that is, for example, we just got finished talking about witnesses, right? The government and the state, they're allowed to pay witnesses to testify against you, but you cannot pay a witness to testify on your behalf. It's against the law. So if you're starting out with 10 witnesses and the government is starting out with 10 witnesses,
So hold on. So the government is able to pay witnesses,
right,
right? The government, because like even with the Big Meats to Tammy situation, she was paid over $210,000, right?
right.
So you telling me like if an individual decide to like, you look, man, I know this is gonna take from your work, I know this is gonna take from your lifestyle, but look, I'm gonna compensate you for this. That's against the law.
That's against the law. That's a violation of Title 18, Section 201C, giving a person something of value for their testimony.
Wow. But they can do it.
Right. They can do actually. I think it was maybe in about 2002, 2001. There was a unanimous decision out of I think it was the 10th Circuit, United States versus Singleton. That court found that that statute um, that the government violated that statute because they said that the government couldn't give a witness something of value, and the government, of course, cried that they allow that if they allow for the court to overturn the convictions of people like Timothy McVeigh and a few other people, high-profile cases, will get out of jail because they would be entitled to a new trial because the government paid these witnesses in their case. You remember about 2 years ago when they were trying to bring the charges up against President Trump. President Trump even made the statement that giving a witness or paying a witness something of value should be unlawful because they were using it in his case. You see, this is what I mean when I say sometimes it becomes a privilege. It becomes a privilege when you have that constitutional right. You can argue it and they give it to you because of who you are, because of how much money you have. But if you don't have that money, if they don't want to give it to you, if you consider them menace to society under their view or their eye, then they can deny you that particular right. You know what I'm saying? That benefit. But President Trump said that he thought that it should be unlawful and that it shouldn't be used.
Right, right. And a lot of people, they give President Trump backlash in regards to the way he handled things. And, I think I have an idea of it is that Obama, he put some laws in place to help free people that was getting extra time on drugs, but President Trump had to be the one to enforce it. Is that correct? Or
right. No, that's correct. Actually, the difference between President Trump and President Obama, for example, President Trump is he's a leader in the contents that he's going to make his decisions. I don't always agree with all his decisions, but he's going to make his decisions right or wrong, and he's going to stand up for his people, right or wrong, and he's going to support his people. When you get a president like Obama, a lot of things that Obama said I agree with, but he didn't do things that was necessary. When Obama, even though he gave out clemencies, those clemencies was handpicked. They didn't go to certain people that should have received benefits from them and stuff like that.
They got the same qualifications. They didn't get it.
Right. You know, like if you look at the board or the committee that he put together, and I'm talking about Obama now, those boards and committees was put together with attorneys, prosecutors, old judges, retired judges, and they make the decision of who should be released and who shouldn't be released. On the other hand, with the committee that Trump put up and the committee that Trump has today is people that was formerly incarcerated, people that's in jail, because he says he takes the position who would be better to know what prisoners should be released than people who have experienced that life, you know, that understands that life and what these people are going through.
So let me ask you, Tommy. So, like, I know one of the situations that I seen in the paperwork, it was the Adrian Boner situation, right? And you know, it was a situation where an athlete, he got took for a few $1 million or whatever, right? And then Big U came in and he was alleged. This is all allegedly because we don't know if it's true or not. But Big U came in and it said that, you know, hey, get that guy his money back. Now the guy end up getting his money back, but Big U end up getting a payment for that whole transaction. Is that is that illegal?
You would think that it wouldn't be illegal, but I'll give you an example, and this is what I mean by when I say the government has the ability to manipulate the facts, the premises to justify the conclusion. Under the government's interpretation, that would be illegal, right? But isn't that the same thing that the government do when you're speeding and you get pulled over and you get a ticket, and that ticket might be for $300 and it goes to the county where that state trooper is, and then New York State License Committee charges you another $300 for the same speeding ticket? That seems like that would be unlawful, you know? You know, sometimes when I look at my fees from the bank, when I'm paying my employees and I have a 401k for one of my employees, the fees that I'm paying the bank is so ridiculous, you know, that you would think that that would be unlawful. For me to, for example, pay $500 in fees and the employee only gets the benefits of $120.
Right.
You know, that's almost the same thing that he's doing. You know what I'm saying? But once the banks do it, it appears to be okay. It appears that you're not breaking the law. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes if you look at some of the high percentage on some of these credit cards, the same thing. You know, you got loan sharks that charge in a less percentage, but when a loan shark do it, he goes to jail.
Yeah, that's crazy because I know that was one of the situations in that case. Is like, okay, he helping a person out, and then you know, he is basically being used against him.
Right. But see, they don't look at it being used against him. What they look at is that he just received a substantial amount of money and he didn't pay any taxes on it. We didn't get our cut. And so that's what kind of make it against the law. See, if you were to look at drug dealing and drug selling, right?
Right.
Okay. Simple question.
Look at drug dealing and drug selling, right?
Hold on one second.
Right. Okay. Simple question.
So yeah, you said looking at drug dealing and drug selling.
Right? Who's the victim? There is no victim. You have two people breaking the law: the person selling the drugs and the person buying the drugs.
Right.
You know, so why would a person, or why should a person be facing a 10 to life, or in some cases a mandatory life in jail with no victims?
Yeah. It's a good question. That's a good question. And then another one of the things was that they were using social media. Like so other individuals were speaking on Big U in regards to crimes. Could that be like could that actually be used? Even
Yes,
if they
yes,
were capping or telling lies?
it's gonna be used. It's actually from what I'm seeing now in the cases that I'm reviewing, the cases that I'm working on, social media based upon self-incrimination and incrimination from others talking about cases or giving up information or telling different things is like 80% of what's supporting the convictions today. You know, people getting on the mic and saying things that they shouldn't be saying, giving locations, so on. You know, like even to watch one of the videos I seen on this particular case, without mentioning any names, the guy mentioned three different locations where they actually had meetings at. You know, three locations that probably the cops never had no idea where the meetings was being held at. But he wanted to impress listeners that he's been to those meetings, that he was a part of those meetings, and down the road that's going to come back and haunt him, and it's going to haunt a couple of other people.
No, for sure, for sure. Like then it's another thing that I want to bring up is the fact that so what type of advice would you give Big U's legal team if you had to give them some sort of advice? Like you looking at the paperwork or whatever, what's presented in front of us.
See, with me, my focus is not on advice for the legal team, unless I'm working for the client with the legal team.
Okay.
My focus is always educating the client, and
Mm.
so that the client can understand the system, how the system operates, so he'll know how to structure his fight. Um, some clients don't understand the concept of the prison system, how it operates, how it runs. When I say the prison system, I'm talking about the criminal justice system as a whole. Um, for example, one of the things that you should know and always keep in the back of your mind, um, a lawyer, the lawyer, the judge, and the prosecutors, all three of those guys are officers of the court, and all three are licensed to work in New York State. Does that mean that they're all bad or they all corrupt and no good? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that their first obligation is to that court system. And you under the belief that you're going to be treated fair, everything's going to be equal, and in reality, it's not. You know, and you have to understand that. You have to be able to see that. Then you can pick your fight a little better. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was to ask you if you were convicted or arrested for a crime today, right? And we'll say, I'm looking at you, right? And this is just my opinion from looking at you, right? Brown skin complexion, maybe about 200 pounds, maybe about 5'8". Okay, that's the description I would give you. But you were indicted, and then you have a police report against you, and the police report say that you're 6'5", you're 300 pounds, and you're dark skinned, and you got dreadlocks in your case. But you're being accused of committing a robbery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would be your best defense?
Well, for me, like I'm 6'2", 300 pounds. So that's completely off. And then I'm brown skin. So I would start with that. But it's like, okay, maybe the light, right? Can they use that? Like the attorneys, the prosecutors, can they use that? Like, oh well, Okay, it was a light discrepancy. Okay, he is brown skin. Okay, he is 6'2". Okay, he is 300 pounds.
Right. Well, see, here's the catch, right? That's the angle that most people take, and most of the time, when a defendant hears his lawyer arguing that angle, he thinks he's doing an excellent job. Okay, he could prove that I'm not 6 feet tall. He could prove that I'm dark skinned. He could prove that I don't have dreadlocks.
Right.
But in reality, when you look at the definition of that crime, your identification, your weight is not an element. It's not an essential element. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
So
just
when
an
you hear
add-on.
right, when you hear your prosecutor or your lawyer arguing those factors, you're under the assumption that they're very relevant in the case, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what's
I
relevant
would think
is
that I would think that they would be very relevant, but go ahead,
most
bro.
most people would. That's the illusion that I'm talking about. What is relevant is whether or not you committed the case or you didn't commit the case, right? Most people would take the position that you just took, Big Chuck, right? But the true position is this. Listen to me very carefully. I don't give a fuck what size he was, what hair it was. You got the wrong guy. It was not me. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's a difference.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a whole nother conversation.
It's a conversation that keeps the argument on track. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when you get convicted of a crime and you want to argue on appeal, oh, well, they got the wrong guy. The measurement was this. No, the jury picked the right guy. The jury picked that you committed that crime. It's not relevant. Your size and stuff is not relevant. We think it's relevant. We believe that it's relevant. But listen to this test, right? This is one of the tests I used to give in the class that I used to teach, right? Say I have a class of 10 students, and we're sitting in the class, and I would always have somebody come in and go to the bathroom. I would tell them to wait 5 minutes after the class starts, come in and go to the bathroom, ask if they use the bathroom, go in the bathroom and sit in the bathroom for 15 minutes. After 10 minutes has passed, I asked everybody in the class to settle down, grab a piece of paper and a pencil. And then I would say, everybody, I said, did everybody see that guy who just walked in here and went to the bathroom? And everybody would say yes. Then I would ask them to describe him, write down his height, hair, what he had on, what he didn't have on. And if you had 20 people in there, there's a possibility you're going to get 15 different answers. You might have one or two that match up. You're going to get different answers on the size, the complexion, and so on. And that's because even though everybody witnessed, emphasis at it, everybody witnessed that individual come in, their focus point was not on his description. And that's why his description is not an element of the crime.
Yeah,
Because
that makes a lot of sense, and like I can see that, like 15 different people out of 20 people giving up whole different information. And so, like I said, they got 50 witnesses on this case, and most of them even volunteers, so they might not have a crime that's making them cooperate so they can get less time. It might be just them, like, hey, I want this guy out the way. So when you see situations like that inside the communities and kingpins, what is usually the outcome when it comes federal?
The outcome becomes conviction. And let me tell you why it becomes conviction. And this is, like I said, the education of the defendant. You have to educate them on, right? You got 50 people. We're going to say 50 people. We're going to say 10 people because 50 is a lot, right? We say 10 people. You got 10 people convicted. I mean, you got 10 people arrested and charged in alleged conspiracy, right? Listen to me carefully. 5 of them cop out and plead guilty. The elements of a conspiracy is an agreement of 2 or more people. So the fact that you got 5 copping out pleading guilty, that means that the government has already proven beyond a reasonable doubt that a conspiracy exists. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they have the or more people. And the two or more people are saying, hey, the government doesn't have to prove the case. Yeah, we did that. We did this together.
Right. And why is it that conspiracy is so hard to beat? Because like once they label, like they put conspiracy in there, they add the RICO and they do all these different things. Like you don't necessarily got to get caught with the drugs. You don't necessarily got to get caught with any of the things that they're saying that you're accused of. But how does that, like it stands so much?
Let me explain to you again. Now listen to me again, right? I'm gonna start it over and I'm gonna add something else in it. You got 10 people. You got 5 people that pled guilty. That proves that a conspiracy exists because you only need 2 or more. So the government already met that first element. Now listen to this. Now the jury is instructed, okay? And first let me start with the indictment. Your indictment is alleged that you conspired with the people that's in the indictment and others known and unknown. Your indictment is alleged that you conspired, but we're just going to use the city of New York, in the city of New York, and emphasis added, and elsewhere. You see how broad that indictment becomes?
Huh. Yeah, it gets
okay.
deep, man.
Now the jury is instructed. In this case, the defendant is charged with conspiracy. The government does not have to prove that he knows his co-conspirators. The government doesn't have to prove that he knows or had knowledge of the drug sales. The government only has to prove that he was a member of that conspiracy. And under co-conspirators' liabilities, he can be held accountable for all the drugs that was involved in that conspiracy.
That's why it's so hard for a gang member to beat a conspiracy, correct? Because they considered a member.
Not only that, what they're doing with the gang members, especially the RICO charges, right, is that the RICO, unlike a regular conspiracy, allows you to dig back as far as 10 years in criminal activities in that particular area.
And I think that's what they're doing in Big U case too, right?
Right, exactly. That's correct. That's correct. They're going to go back 10 years of activity. So that means that when you grab that 50 witnesses that you mentioned earlier,
yeah,
you got a 10-year span, and all they got to do is put stories together. You know what I'm saying? And then it's hard to kind of defeat that. Like if I was to ask you, Chuck, right, last week on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
What did you have for dinner?
Shit, I don't even remember.
Probably that's my point. Listen, that's my point exactly. So when you defend in a case, and somebody talking about what you did 5 years ago, 4 years ago, or 10 years ago, how the hell do you remember to defend it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. That's a good point.
And that's the education that we have to learn in order to put up our best fights. You know what I'm saying? And when you go in there blinded, well, you already know what happens if you put a blindfold on the boxing ring, you're gonna get knocked out or beat to death.
So I know, like from what I seen, like I said, I've never been involved in no federal RICO or anything like that. You know, so I definitely have seen them. You know, when I was young, my crib got raided and all that stuff. They took my mama and all that, right? But just looking at it though, bro, it's like when you talking about a RICO in a person, the government attached that to your case, isn't that like really hard to beat?
It's almost impossible to beat, especially coupled with the RICO and the criteria of what the government has to prove and what they don't have to prove. When you start looking at the way the government is allowed to manipulate the facts, the bail, the no bail, your rights to a speedy trial, put you in jail where you can't go to your office and meet your lawyer and discuss your case with your lawyer and go over your case, where you can't go out and investigate, find witnesses, and get adequate preparation for your trial. It's almost impossible to beat. And this is why, if you look at the statistics, right, throughout the 2000s, the government average yearly over 90% conviction rate. And in 2022, they had a staggering 99.6% conviction rate. meaning that less than 1% of the persons that was going to trial in that particular year was being found not guilty.
Wow.
No, and see, it's not always about that when the government come get you, they got a strong case against you, or they got you, or they got evidence against you. It's they build the case, and they build the case through purchase and testimony. They build the case through manipulating the facts, leaving you at a disadvantage.
No, for sure, for sure. And it's like it's different areas when it comes to it, like far as it's a bunch of other individuals involved, right? So these other individuals involved, they got to fight too, right?
Well,
So
they got to fight. See, a lot of them got to fight, and a lot of them are only there for one reason. It's not that they're guilty or innocent of a crime, okay, or a crime worth going to jail. Sometimes they're just there for their knowledge. They're there to create fear factors and to threaten people. You know, that's why you see a lot of these conspiracies like this. They grab best friends, they grab wives, they grab girlfriends, mothers, uncles, and so now when they start threatening everybody with all this time, people just start telling, you know, or you got some people that tell out of jealousy. Well, he was making all the money. I wasn't getting no money. Why should I go to jail? He's going to have to go to jail by himself, you know. And one of the biggest fear factors is again when these crimes come about, the government is not threatening people with 2 or 3 years, where a person can say, okay, you my man, you go ahead, go to jail for this 2 or 3 years. I'm gonna look out for you and your wife, and I'll make sure you got some money in your commissary. They're threatening people with 20 years or more or life.
yeah, and then another thing that the government do, right, is don't they threaten like so they like so you remember you bought that car for your mama? Oh yeah, she going
Right.
down too. You remember you bought
Exactly.
that car for your auntie? Yeah, she going down too. What about your baby mama? She going
Right.
down too. So
Exactly.
you got
That's
these
exactly what
different
you do.
variables involved. And a lot of people like so how many people actually cop out like in that percentile? Like is that with the cop out too? Like people just saying, you
Yeah,
know what?
most definitely with the cop out. See, if you look at, I'm gonna use Young Thug case again, right? You look at his case, right? He really didn't want to cop out. He wanted to go to trial, but for almost 2 years, he been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up,
Right.
eating bologna sandwiches. He can't even sit down and eat and relax. He spent most of his day in trial, okay, going to sleep in some cases. Um, then he has to go back to the cell and do the same thing the next day. Up at 3 o'clock in the morning, put on his suit, eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich or a bologna sandwich. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that stuff just burn you out. You just want
Go home.
to get the situation resolved and over with. And you understand what I'm saying? You want to have an outcome. It's the not knowing. You know what I'm saying? And so if you got something that's deal and sounds logical, you say, man, let me just get this over with now. I know I got 5 years. If I keep going to trial, it might be another 5 years, another 10 years. Then if I get convicted, it might be another 5 or 10 years fighting my case. You know, all of that is to manipulate the facts and the premises to justify the conclusion.
Yeah, my bad, bro. My bad, bro. Yo, Mac Main, we would like you to come up here too, bro, because I know you got a lot of opinion on it. You know what I mean? Great for the conversation. Yo, we got Eman in the building. Yo, Eman, can you hear me, bro? Yo, Eman, is you there? Stats on 280. I know you got something to say. Stats 280. You there? Hey, bro, you just fucked their heads up.
Hey, yo, Chuck.
Yo, Rudy Low. Rudy Low.
Peace.
Peace, peace.
The brother that just was conversing, right?
Yes, sir.
Um,
Tommy Walker. Tommy Walker.
Tommy Walker. Peace. Um, I think it'd be good pertaining to the topic if he explained what an overreact is, because that's one of the key components to conspiring. I like to say, I guess it's vague terminology or vague statement, but when it comes to courts, they interpret it. To my understanding, overreact is something like, let's say, for example, I say something to you, Chuck. If you say yes or no, according to the law, you could fire. Like if you don't respond back, that's something else. What you call that thing? Oh, criminal solicitation. I guess is the underlining thing to conspire,
So
or the entry level.
Can you speak on that? Tell me like an overreact.
Yeah. No, explain. Overact is an act or crime that occurs within the scope of the conspiracy. It's a crime that the government doesn't have to prove, or the government doesn't have to allege in an indictment. Okay. Let's say, for example, you get arrested and you're charged with conspiracy charge, right? And believe it or not, there's a lot of people in jail for this. Okay, this example that I'm going to give you, and people just don't understand it. And you have one charge, and that's the conspiracy. A conspiracy to distribute and to purchase and to sell, say, cocaine. But within that conspiracy period, there's testimony at the trial that somebody got killed, and you gave somebody the gun to kill that person. That is an overact within the furthest of the conspiracy. That's not a crime that you're charged with, nor is it a crime that you're convicted of. But at sentencing, once they found you guilty of the conspiracy, the judge can consider that overact and enhance your sentence based upon that. So you might have been selling, say, for example, 20 grams of cocaine that would have got you 10 years. But once the court considered that overact, because your sentencing range under that statute is 10 to life, the judge can do a cross-reference to, for example, to first-degree murder if he honestly believes, not the jury, but the judge believes that you were involved in that murder. He could use that overact and give you a sentencing enhancement and take you up to a life sentence.
Hey, bro, I got a question. You can hear me, Chuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bad. Were you done with that answer? I don't mean to cut you off.
No, real quick. Let's elaborate a little bit more on that. You know, I don't know if I answered this question for him. But like I said, an overact is a crime that you don't have to be charged with or convicted. It's just part of something that happened within the scope of the conspiracy.
Got you. Yo, really low. What else you had to say, bro?
What he just spoke on, right? What's the young brother from the Bronx? The one that just he just got acquitted of murder. The one I like, not Young Dougie. What is that? K Flock.
K Flock.
K Flock.
K Flock. What the scenario he just explained is similar. What he's gonna go through. He got acquitted of murder, but he still got the RICO. So a layman or a person that's not experienced to think that he good because he beat the body. He could fuck around. They could still slay him just like he got convicted of the body because of the RICO.
That is correct. That's 100% correct. And now, when you look at the penalties for a RICO, right? The penalties for a RICO is any amount of years up to 20 years or life or the death penalty. If an overact or one of the activities has been established that you were involved in it.
Wow. So he's damn. Yo, Iman, what you had to say, bro?
Yo, yeah. Hey, salute, Tommy. So in that paperwork, a lot of the evidence seems to be pointing to Rolling 60 Crips, but then the RICO in itself is not a Rolling 60s RICO. For some reason, it was like a Big U Enterprise RICO. I'm just wondering what do you make of that? Why are they talking about Rolling 60s all throughout the paper, but it wasn't a Rolling 60s like a RICO?
Well,
Man, them motherfuckers got 10,000 members.
yeah.
No, they specified it as this is a big U enterprise, like something he individually was running. I couldn't understand if it was either under the structure of the Rolling 60s or separate from the Rolling 60s.
Oh, I see what you saying.
No, I feel what you're saying, bro, but I'm saying they got like 10,000 members, bro.
Right.
You ain't gonna just do a whole 60.
Who is they talking about? This is not a quick
60s
Rico.
in general.
That's what I'm wondering is why is it not a Rolling 60 Rico, but just a big Rico?
Bro, it's specifically on the grid program. Most of those people are from the grid program.
Nah, I was asking Tommy.
Listen,
Tommy, what you got to say about it, bro?
First, let me say this here. First, if you understand how the feds work, right, it's too early. And that's one of the things that you wouldn't want to get caught up into. The reason why, because you'll be chasing a red herring, okay? Chances are in this particular case, listen to me carefully, there's going to probably be about 3 or 4 superseding indictments. When you're dealing with like 50 or more people that's telling, okay, you're starting out with one premise. That one premise, you can't base your foundation or your argument or your defense on that, because by the time you get to the 3rd superseding indictment, the premises is going to change, and that's going to be changed based upon what those 50 witnesses say and what evidence they give them and what other information they find within the pre-trial investigation. Right now, in cases like this, you're still involved, and even though these guys are indicted, but it's actually a pre-trial investigation. This is going to tell within the next couple of months, and this pre-trial discovery is going to tell who's who did what, who didn't do what, and stuff like that, and so on.
Do that answer your question?
No, I got you.
Yeah, because I know that, like, it was a guy by the name of 600. He had came online about 2 years ago, and one of the guys who on a Rico Bricc baby, he had got picked up, and apparently allegedly for AK-47, and he said that the feds had spoke to him about like, yo, there's some things going on in your neighborhood, and it's gonna be a big Rico coming soon, but it's gonna be on Big U, not the 60s. And we look at this shit, right? And it's called Operation Draw Down. And the guy, Big U, his street moniker is Big Draws. So it's like they definitely targeted him. And then not to mention, like you said, they is using a lot of like Big U Enterprise, Big U Enterprise, Big U Enterprise.
But see, like I said, a lot of times you got like I said, you got to understand the feds and how they operate. Those premises will change. Let me just give you an example, right? And again, emphasis that this is just an example. Say if Big U decides, okay, what you did, I'm going to turn myself in. I can't fight this case. They got me. Running will be ridiculous, and I'm going to cop out, and I'm going to play ball. I'm going to tell them what they need to know. I'm just going to tell them about me, right? However he decide to go. What you think is going to happen with the Big U enterprise? It's going to disappear, and now it's going to be the rolling 60s. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. So it's probably going to be members of rolling 60s. Like they're going to probably emphasize that eventually with the superseding indictment.
Listen, again, you say it's 50 people. Let me tell you what happened when the feds grab people like this and a group of people like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go into pre-trial investigation. Okay, asking people questions, talking to people. You know what I'm saying? You grab 10 little kids on the corner. Man, listen, I know what you've been doing. You've been up here selling kilos. Now, what these kids think they're doing, they think that they're defending themselves. The feds know that they wasn't selling kilos. The feds know they were selling nickels and dimes. So what they do is they say, man, I wasn't selling no kilos. Man, that was Big Chuck and them. Big Chuck and them sell kilos. I only sell nickels and dimes. You see what happened?
Right.
Now, the people, all these people that they gathered, they help these guys put the story together. And now they don't even have to go out there investigating stuff like that as much. You know?
Hey, in that paperwork, now that I think about it, it says that the investigation is ongoing. So, Tommy, you got a point.
Exactly.
This is just the beginning of this shit. Damn.
Right. Whenever you're dealing with a RICO and a conspiracy like that, you can count on about 3 superseding indictments. You know what I'm saying? And the count elaborating and the government changing their directions based upon the pretrial investigation.
Right. And also, another question I have for you was, in that paperwork, it says that the Fed's been wiretapping Big U since August of 2020, right? What do you make about the time frame? Is it like, you know what I mean? Because I know they can keep an investigation open for like 7 years or something. Do you make anything of that? The fact that this started in 2020 and they're just now kind of showing up.
Yeah, you can't up under RICO. On RICO, you can go back up to 10 years. Okay, first and foremost. But a lot of times, and trust me with this one, where I read thousands of cases, man. And then, matter of fact, I'll just give you an example from my case. You can't go by what the feds say on the paperwork, because the feds are going to write down what they want you to hear and what they want you to see, and only what they want you to hear and what they want you to see. And a lot of times it's based upon testimonial statements from individuals that's given this information based upon them receiving something of value for their testimony or their statements. And a lot of times it's not true. By the time you get to your third superseding indictment and your discovery, then you're going to have a more solid foundation on the paperwork and what the government's theory is going to be at trial and stuff like that and so on. You know, in my case, I was arrested, right? It was in the newspaper on the front page, biggest heroin dealer in the upstate area of New York City, right? But the only to let you know, honestly, I never sold heroin in my life. Okay, I sold cocaine, sold marijuana, you understand what I'm saying, but never sold heroin in my life. Sold crack cocaine, but never sold heroin. By the time I got to my third superseding indictment, and a lot of witnesses was trying to get home off their case, the whole theory changed, and I was the largest crack dealer in the upstate area.
So what you think about, like, somebody left a comment, they said Big U hasn't been indicted, it's just a complaint. So what's the difference from a complaint and someone being indicted?
That complaint means you won't be indicted, you know, so they can fool themselves that, you know, it hasn't reached an indictment yet. Okay, but the complaint is that's basically allegations against you. An indictment means that you went to before a grand jury and you had juries of your peers that determined that there's enough probable cause that you might have committed a crime. In a complaint, you don't have juries of your peers. You might have a statement from a police officer, a statement from a CI, and stuff like that, and so on.
Got you. Yo, Stats 280, you had a question? What you were saying earlier? You there? So, like, moving forward though, so like it's a bunch of individuals, like I said earlier, that they're using a lot of social media influence. Like they saying that they got a lot of details in regards to Big U via social media, people speaking on them on podcasts and things of that nature. Like, say for example, if a person goes on a podcast and they lie on you, could they still use that?
Well, I'm saying they usually, under their policies, they sort of investigate or verify what the person is actually saying.
Right.
You know, but again, when you start talking about manipulating facts, a lot of people don't know who's familiar. Like say Big U right now, right? He's arrested on complaints, right? He's arrested on the statements, right? Chances are in the federal system, all of those statements are DEA 6 forms or 302 forms, okay? And if you ever sit down and read and investigate those forms, you'll see that the witness who's given the information or statement actually don't sign it. What happens is you have an investigator and you have the prosecutor, and what they're doing is they're listening to the witness tell a story, but then they're writing the statement down the way that they want it worded and explained. Then in most cases, they put the witness under the gun, because now when the witness go to trial, they have that statement, alleged statement, and they confront that witness with it. And so the witness don't want to say, no, I didn't write it, I didn't say that, I said something else. They put that there because now he would have to say that the prosecutor and the investigating officer who was there with him has manipulated the facts or the lies. So they just pretty much stick with the lies. For example, that witness might have said, Yeah, I was there. We were selling cocaine. We sold cocaine powder. The agent and the prosecutor might change the cocaine powder to crack because you get more time for crack. Now the witness is almost stuck with saying, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, I might have said crack. I don't remember. I probably did. If it's down there, then that means I said it."
Wow. Wow. And like you got this guy by the name of Bricc Baby, right? So he's in the paperwork as well. And I don't know if you read that part, but it had said that he got a superseding indictment, like another case.
Mm-hmm.
Like how does that work? Like when it comes to, okay, he's on this case, but then they saying he got a superseding indictment on another case, and I guess they don't want to give too much information because they could reveal the other case.
Well, with that, most of the time that leads off into what they call a spinoff conspiracy. A spinoff conspiracy means, like, say for example, me and you agree to sell cocaine, and we put our money together. We purchase cocaine every week, and we sell cocaine. And 1 week or 1 month, I give you some money to go pick up some cocaine for us. You go pick up the cocaine, and they don't have any more cocaine, so you end up buying some crack. And you say, well, until they get the cocaine, I'm going to buy this crack, and I'm going to go over and sell the crack, and I'll double my money. So you got a conspiracy with me and you, but you just did a spinoff from that conspiracy and created another conspiracy all by yourself, or some other unlawful activities all by yourself or with a different group of people.
So what like, so okay, with that being said, like, will that separate conspiracy or that second indictment or you know, sealed indictment rather, will that affect Big U in his case?
It might, if they can show a connection, or you know what I'm saying, they can show that he had knowledge of it, or foreseeability of it.
Gotcha.
That's almost like, remember Big Meech case, where his co-defendant Cuffy was saying that Big Meech was on my indictment, but he never came to trial with me. He never participated. You understand what I'm saying? It's the same type of effect there.
Wow, it's crazy. This is, damn, man. Tell me you man, bro. This shit is deep, man. This shit is deep. So like looking at the charges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it any charges that you see that they got a chance? Like, of course, conspiracy is, you know what I'm saying, that's crazy. Conspiracy is crazy. Rico is crazy.
The Rico is the home run for the prosecutor. Okay. The other cases are going to be difficult. The bank fraud, they might have him on that if he can't prove what he did with that money. You follow what I'm saying? If he did not separate his money, his personal accounts from, let's say he got an LLC. I don't know if he have an LLC or not. I'm just making this.
Yeah, I believe he do. I believe he do.
Okay, if he didn't keep the money in his LLC, and they could prove that he took it out of his LLC to put it in his personal account and stuff like that, and he doesn't really have proof or records to show that or support that, you know what I'm saying? He might be in trouble, you know, especially if he's been running this business and he hasn't been. The LLCs require that you do a board and have meetings and stuff like that and so on. If he hasn't been doing that, he might have some problems with that.
So I want to play some audio for you in regards to this, and I want to, like, because a lot of people was online like, yo, he should have consulted with his lawyer. Why did he go online and say this? Like, me personally, I don't think he said too much, but he said enough.
Mm-hmm.
But let me get to it. Big, you respond to it. Okay, that's it right here. Give me 1 second. I just want you to react to this, or what Big you saying. This is on his way to the turning stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask.
So this is gonna probably be my last video. I'm gonna go turn myself in to see what's going on. They talking about I'm a fugitive. So they just raided all my houses. 600 was actually with the police when they raided my house. He's actually got video and footage of it. so y'all know what y'all dealing with. And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about whack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all filed. All y'all who be sending shit around the internet, all y'all who be promoting and listening to what these niggas saying, all y'all giving these likes and hidden likes, all y'all supporting this. All y'all guilty of this fuck shit. If you had something against a black man, you should handle it with a black man in the streets. Wack said 100 times he was gonna take my contracts. He working with the FBI. The FBI went to the city 3 days in a row and told the city they didn't want nobody to give me no more money. They went to all the different celebrities and told all the different celebrities, don't give me no money, don't help me, don't do nothing for me. They going around scaring and intimidating everybody. But y'all sitting it around getting people in trouble. Like y'all don't understand what the FBI do to black men who try to help their community. I ain't been nothing but a help to our community. But I guess it is what it is. This the price of being black and trying to help somebody, trying to help your community and do what you can. You're just guilty because somebody else don't like you and they go on the internet and do what the fuck they want to and y'all gonna promote it. It's crazy. But I'm going to go turn myself in though. Because I ain't did nothing. This fact is, man, they done went to my house, kicked my houses in, bust my doors down, bust my windows. They calling my son at his football practice, threatening him. You know what I mean? These dudes tagging him. What kind of shit is this? But y'all gonna be rolling with these dudes. And I got this last thing to say. Wack said he was gonna destroy developing option, right? So who gonna replace developing option? Which one of you fuck niggas in the 60s gonna call yourself coming in? Because whoever try to come in, y'all the ones that's working with Wack. Believe that. So remove me to get me out the way for somebody else to come in who gonna cooperate. That's what the play is. That's what the whole play is. I'm out. I'm gonna send y'all videos to put up all of them until they lock me up.
Okay.
This is my last video before I turn myself in. I'm with my family. Talk to my sons. I talk to everybody, man. I'm just saying, going to deal with this fight. See what.
Did you know that you could be owed a major cash payout if you were in a car accident in the last year, even if you were just a passenger or it's...
It is. I just want y'all to know all this stuff is quagmire. Shit is all bullcrap. I just need y'all prayers. I need y'all to... I don't even know what to
Hey,
say.
Rosé, come up, bro. We want to get your opinion too.
21 years.
Yeah, you should hear pop up a little later.
Come back. Sit in here and write and do what I need to do until I can come back home. People are supposed to help me. I hope you help me. If you can't, you don't. Don't worry about it. A lot of stuff y'all hearing is straight trash. And I appreciate the love and I appreciate people who've been helping me. I don't know. It's hard helping black people and not being hunted for doing it.
It's First Street. It might be to, I don't know if it's to the right or the left.
Reach out to anybody who can help me, y'all.
You hear me?
Help my own family. Appreciate y'all. Go.
Mr. Henley is a fugitive, and he is currently wanted by federal law enforcement. Other individuals linked to his criminal enterprise were arrested today, approximately 10 defendants who are charged in various indictments. Again, Mr. Henley is a fugitive. 4 defendants are in state custody and will be transferred into federal custody, and we are still seeking Mr. Henley and another fugitive. The Department of Justice's top priority is eliminating violent crime caused by criminal street gangs and organized crime. These organizations cause a tremendous amount of harm in our communities. And today's arrests are part of our office's efforts FBI, IRS, LAPD, the team you see up here, to make our community safer and rid our streets of these criminal street gangs, including ones operated by violent felons like Mr. Henley, who are posing as savvy businessmen and community leaders, but in the end are violent criminals. The affidavit filed with the criminal complaint alleges that Mr. Henley operated Big U Enterprises, a mafia-like organization that utilized Mr. Henley's stature and long-standing association with the Crips criminal street gang and other gangs here in Los Angeles to intimidate businesses and individuals in our communities. I want to stress that the allegations here in the complaint are allegations only, and the defendants are presumed innocent until proven otherwise. Let me talk a little bit about Mr. Henley and the street gang here. As I said, Mr. Henley is a widely known leader within the rolling 60s. He rose to prominence in that gang decades ago, and he has since been a fixture on the internet, talk shows, and podcasts, all things that law enforcement have looked at closely as part of this investigation. He has maintained the image of an entertainment industry entrepreneur running a music label and of somebody who gives back to the community here in Los Angeles, funding a South LA-based charity, Developing Options, which purports to help at youth risk escape gang life in our communities. And today's arrests are part of our office's efforts, FBI, IRS, LAPD, the team you see up here, to make our community safer and rid our streets of these criminal street gangs, including ones operated by violent felons like Mr. Henley, who are posing as savvy businessmen and community leaders, but in the end are violent criminals.
Big shout out to my nigga SPI, spotter low. You know, I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap.
So you hearing that, Tommy, like, because I know a lot of people were saying that he might have did something wrong by speaking on his way to prison, well, on his way to jail, rather, to go meet these charges. Do you think he did anything wrong? If you was his lawyer, would you have told him to be silent?
Most definitely. He made a lot of incriminating statements. For example, you know, some of them are obvious. And let me say this, right?
Right.
If you're doing nothing wrong, right? If you're doing nothing wrong, then how could somebody snitch on you? So by saying Whack 100 and them and these guys are telling on him or trying to put him down, then he's admitting that he's doing something wrong. If you understand what I'm saying,
Makes sense.
Because.
But even further than that, he's on the wiretap. They got wiretaps of Big U himself telling other people how he's the only one still killing people out here. You know what I mean? Like, take Whack or all them niggas out the equation. Just looking at the wiretaps at the FBI, and as Tommy said, like after he said that, that's not even everything we know because they're playing a game right now, which I didn't really, I'm not hip to. So I can only imagine what else they got on this nigga. Because in there it said that they got hours, hundreds of hours of wiretaps, Title III wiretaps. And some of the ones that they put in that paperwork says, yo, Big U saying out of his own mouth, he's out here killing people. So like that, I just don't know how to, you know what I mean, reconcile the two. Because on one hand, you over here saying that, you know, this is a black man getting persecuted. And I can sympathize with that on the human level, right? But, bro, if what's in the paperwork is true, you know what I mean? This is just, it seems like he's just running from accountability.
Right, but like I said, right? If you listen to what the prosecutor said, they got all type of podcasts and speeches that he's been given prior to. They're going to use a lot of statements that
Yeah,
he's
they
already
referenced
said
a lot of that stuff. They even went back to Chicago
against him. You know, he shouldn't have never said anything because he's subconsciously showing guilt. Because if you're doing something right and you're right in your heart, remember that example that I gave you earlier, Big Chuck, about not arguing the height, not arguing the size right, because it's not relevant. You know, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Listen, how could you knock me down as a black man? Listen, If I'm doing everything right, you cannot knock me down as a black man. If I'm living righteously and I'm not committing fraud and I'm not stealing any money, it doesn't matter what nobody say about me. It's not even relevant.
Yeah,
You know,
shit,
my
I
point,
I
point
can
of
read
argument,
between the lines.
right? My point of argument is that they can't prove these things. You know,
That's crazy because a lot of people was on social media saying like, "Yo, big, you need a PR or something." Like, if he got good lawyers or whatever, he shouldn't have never made these statements.
right? Well, listen, this again is why I said what I said earlier. My focus point would be to educate the client, the individual that's in jail, not the lawyers. The lawyers already know. They know they good at manipulating facts and playing games and acting like they don't know when they do know. But the only one who needs education in most of these cases is actually the defendant and the defendant's family, so that they understand what he's up against.
Right. Damn. Yeah,
Hey,
man.
just hypothetically speaking, what would it take for somebody in that position at the top of that RICO to kind of get out of that? Whether it be through cooperation or like how uphill is that battle? Or is there even any light at the end of that tunnel for him to where he can actually beat
That's
this?
a good question.
Well, actually, the corporation, that's what they're looking for. You know, him. See, an individual like him becomes very valuable to the government. Why? Because all of the people that he knows, all of the people he could put up under the gun. You understand what I'm saying? You know, somebody else could move right up to that leadership role. If he decides to cooperate, somebody else is going to move right to that leadership role, not him. You know, he's definitely the target one, but and who would be in the best position to know everything about the organizations, the 60s and the big U enterprise would be him.
Right.
Right, because there has been some rumors of him being involved in indictments going as far as New Jersey, having to do with the rolling 60s Crips out in New Jersey and even down in Georgia. But because I personally haven't seen, like, I've seen paperwork where his name was in one of those indictments, but he wasn't picked up in part of those my indictments. So now looking back on it, all that shit looked weird. But then again, this was before they picked him up, so I'm not sure how that, you know what I mean? Like, one would think if he was already working, they wouldn't pick him up, right? Or is my assumption wrong there?
No, your assumption is right. Listen, in most of these cases, this is what you see. Let's stop here at the pretrial investigation and his arrest. Okay? By the time you get to the trial, right? Listen to what you're going to see. By the time you get to the trial, most of the evidence that you're going to see against him, most of the theories that you're going to see against him is from people that got arrested with him or was arrested after him.
So in a sense, all of this is to basically get the evidence that they need to convict him? Like it's a game,
Yeah,
it's a means to that end?
That's the feds.
Listen, that's exactly what happened. When I went to my trial, listen to me carefully. When I went to my trial, the only people that testified against me prior to my trial, about my trial, prior to my trial, was the arresting officers that was doing the investigation. Everybody else that testified about me and what I did in the conspiracy and my leadership role was people that got arrested with me. So what evidence did they actually have against me when they arrested me?
None.
Yo, Tommy, that's crazy because in that video, I don't know if y'all seen that part. In that video, as he's turning himself in, he was telling the world how he doesn't fuck with Luce Cannon. I don't fuck with Bricc, baby. Them two niggas on your indictment. Like, if that was the case, I would play nice with them niggas, man. I wouldn't be throwing their name out before I even get locked up.
But see, what he's probably trying to do, listen to me carefully, he's probably trying to protect himself because he knows that they have things to say bad about him. So he's trying to distance himself from them.
Which is good, right?
Well, but the prosecutors got to read into that. They see that shit too, though. So what they gonna glean from that?
Well, see, it's not so much that it's good and it's not so much that it's bad. It's just that you're in a position where, again, the scale is tilted to the prosecutor's favor. Those guys that that they have now, the prosecutor can offer them freedom to testify against them, to tell a story the way the prosecutor wants to tell a story. The question is, he has to have the knowledge of that fact. And now the question is saying, knowing those facts, you have to say to yourself, what can that person say that could hurt me? And then you have to structure your defense around that. You cannot act like it don't exist, or you can't just say, I'm going to say I don't know him, and that should be good enough. That's not going to work.
It's crazy, man. Nasty work. Nasty work.
Yeah, bro.
Yo.
Chuck, I thought I'm under the impression that we saw almost a lot of what we were going to see in this case, but it's actually the opposite. That's kind of what's shocking me right now is like, damn, what don't we know?
Yeah, like for me speaking with Tommy a few different times, and y'all can go check out them different podcasts. Just type in Fame of Clout Tommy Walker or Death of the Cloud Chaser Tommy Walker. You'll be able to get in tune with that type of content. But for the most part, bro, it's like shit. He been telling us this whole time. I ain't gonna lie to you.
See, the case.
Oh, it makes sense.
Let me ask you this: why do you think these cases take so long to go to trial? Because they arrest you, then they build a case against you during this pretrial arrest period.
Right.
And most of the damaging witnesses against you are your co-conspirators that got arrested with you.
Now, let me ask you though, Tommy. Like this is a good one, right? And okay, so he's supposed to be at the top of the totem pole, right?
Uh-huh.
Even if he decided to cooperate, right? Is that a chance that the feds would accept that?
No, the feds will accept that because what they do is simply they move somebody else to the top of the totem pole. Let me give you an example of how the feds operate. Okay, we're gonna forget this case for 1 second. We're just gonna go someplace else. There's a case out of the Bronx, right? I'm not gonna mention no names. Not gonna go into the case, right? An individual paid is a group, a gang. An individual paid the individual to kill somebody for selling drugs on their turf, right? The guy said, I'll do it. He says, okay, my man, here's $1,000. So the guy took the $1,000. He walked up the street with 4 of his co-conspirators. The guy went into the store. When the guy came out the store, he walked behind the guy, shot the guy in the head. Listen to me carefully. 1 shot, 1 kill. 1 person being paid for the murder. The other 4 guys, when the guy dropped on the ground, they shot at him. Most of them missed. I think one of the bullets hit in the head. But the doctor said that the first bullet that went to his back head, in the back of his head, killed him. And he died instantly. But you had 5 individuals that was convicted for murder. You get me? You got 5 individuals now convicted for murder. Okay, now the story that the prosecutor sells is that we arrested 5 individuals, all involved in a murder. At the end of the year, the prosecutor gets 5 convictions of murder. The statistics show 5 people being arrested for murder, even though there's only 1 murder. Do you see the manipulation of the facts? Okay, so the prosecutor looks and he tells the public that he's cleaning up the neighborhood. He's cleaning up the community. We have 5 people convicted for murder this year. And in reality, it's only 1 murder. And that's what the prosecutor do in these type of cases. When they arrest all of these people, they allow them to put the story together the way that they want to. Again, remember when I tell you my story? I was arrested, indicted based upon the police report that I was one of those heroin dealers in the United States. What happened in that story, to clarify it? I had somebody who was working for me. They was actually working for me. They were actually selling cocaine. And what they did was they went out and brought some drugs on their own. That spin-off conspiracy. And the drugs that they brought, they thought that they were cocaine, but it wasn't actually cocaine. And they sold it to the cops. And the cops were so happy and so blessed. Oh, we caught somebody that's working for him, and they sold us some heroin. Let's arrest them and let's indict them. And so they grabbed me and arrested me for the heroin. But then they turned out later on, they learned that it wasn't heroin. It was actually meth. This person brought some drugs. They thought they were buying heroin, but they brought meth. But the point I'm trying to make is that I was arrested. If you read those newspapers, you read those police reports, you would have thought in the beginning I was the biggest heroin dealer up in the upstate area. But by the time I got convicted, I was convicted of a totally different crime. My conviction, the witnesses against me, were all people that got arrested with me. So when you look at that conspiracy and you look at what they're alleging in the beginning, it just gives the appearance of somebody who broke the law. And by the time that they pay witnesses for their testimony, they manipulate witnesses, they threaten witnesses with the rest of their life in jail, then they're going to have the story that they want. And in some cases,
This Las Vegas steakhouse supposed.
Don't they help the what?
No, we hear you, bro. My bad. My audio head came on.
So, okay, and sometimes those witnesses tell the true story as to what actually occurred. And then you see the whole concept, the whole premise and the facts, like I was saying earlier, they all change. They change. And then they justify a totally different conclusion. And your jury and the public, when they hear this, it doesn't matter to them. Only thing matters to them is that they're getting somebody off the street that did something wrong, that's dirty, that shouldn't have been doing it, you know?
Yo, for sure.
Tommy, so like, given that we're assuming this isn't the end of it, and it's gonna be more superseding indictments, do you have any advice to people that are free right now that know, you know what I mean? They might have some history down the road somewhere and whatever. Like, is there something anybody on the street could do right now to kind of get ahead of this, or is it's too late? Like, they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Well, it's not too late. You have to educate yourself and see what you have to do is you have to, if you want to be successful, and I think this is one of the reasons why we have a high success rate in getting people back home, getting off those life sentences, is that you have to be able to take the facts. Listen what I'm saying. The true facts that you can't manipulate, and you have to be honest with yourself and say, oh shit, they got me over here. Like, say for example, in this case here, he might say, they got me on the bank fraud with this, with taking this money and using this money, putting this money in my personal account. If I concede to that, if I accept that, and I take the stand and admit to doing that, then maybe I can beat the murders. Maybe I can beat the RICOs. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because now that jury might look
right.
at it.
You got to be real with yourself. Yeah.
You got to be real, and you got to deal with the facts, man. You know, you can't say that, you know, you can't get on and start, like, when I listen to what Big Chuck that showed us, you can't get on there and start pointing the finger at somebody else. They call that, and you're dealing with, listen to me carefully, you're dealing with judges and prosecutors who are very intelligent, okay? And under psychology, they call the statements that you heard him make on that video, he-she statements. What does he-she statements mean? That when you ask somebody, what happened? Oh, well, you see, he told me to go over and to get the gun, but if he wouldn't have never told me to go over and get the gun, I wouldn't have never got the gun. But when I got to the house, she gave me the drugs and asked me to take the drugs over here. You see, those are he-she statements. Instead of saying, I made a bad decision, man. I picked up that gun and I shouldn't have picked up that gun. Then I actually got those drugs and I should have left those drugs alone. I'd have been better off. When you make those type of statements, you're accepting accountability. You're not passing the buck trying to blame it on somebody else. You know,
yeah, that's what makes that response troubling, because if you read that paperwork, the facts in there are about, they got wiretap, they got DNA, cell phone data triangulation, all that shit. So when you, on one hand, when you see those facts, and then you hear his response, as if though like this is some PR thing, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, I don't think he read that indictment, to be honest with you, before he made that video.
He definitely didn't, because
no,
I don't think he was out.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
But look, I got to step away for just a second. Hey, can the people in the clubhouse like Iman, any Rudy Lowe, or anybody else can hold it down, you know, with the questions and stuff for a few minutes. But another question that I want to ask before I step away for just a second is, so what if all these witnesses, right, is 50 witnesses, like I said, some of them even volunteers. What if they recanted their statement? What does that mean?
You see, the government, this is what a lot of people don't understand. I'm going to go back to those DEA 6 forms and 302 forms. Again, if you look at those forms, they're not signed by the witness, nor are they signed up under the penalties of perjury. If you look up the definition of penalties of perjury, of perjury and how to get convicted of perjury, it tells you basically 2 sworn statements where if one is true, it's impossible for the second one to be also true. That establishes the elements of perjury. Okay? I said that to say, when the government get these statements from these witnesses, these 50 witnesses, what they do is they don't allow them to sign them. They sit down in a room and they call it a debriefing. They have a debriefing with them. What happened? What's going on? What did you do? What do you know? What do you don't know? Then they put down their version of what the people are saying. Emphasis added. They put down their version as to what the people are saying. The prosecutor signs it, and the officer in there signs it. You with me? So now, if that person comes to trial on you, he gets on the stand. The testimony on the stand is under oath. But when you try to show that the statement that he gave prior to the police is perjury or is a lie because that didn't happen, that didn't occur, it's not under the penalties of perjury. You get me? So when a person argues, oh, he lied or he gave this statement, he gave that statement, the government defends it and they beat it every time because of that, because it's not under the penalties of perjury. So if he recant his testimony, he can always come back and say he's recanted because he was afraid, he was fearful, and that now he wants to tell the truth. And then who is it up to whether or not they're going to prosecute him or not? That's usually the government. It's not that he's automatically entitled to be prosecuted because he recanted the testimony and statement. You have very few cases that's reversed on recanting of statements and testimony. I know Big Chuck gone. Anybody else with any questions?
Yeah, if anybody got any questions or thoughts, raise your hand. I mean, like the conspiracy, when it comes to this Big U case, I think the conspiracy, first off, I thought that it was interesting. It's only 5 people on this that is charged. But like you said, it's probably more in the superseding indictments.
Right.
The conspiracy might be beautiful, but when they got something like murder, and they're talking about something like murder, and they're talking about evidence such as, surveillance footage and DNA and things of that sort, does that kind of change the calculation in a RICO? Like, would you still play the RICO the same way you would as you're dealing with the conspiracy versus something like murder seems a bit more conclusive? Like,
yeah, well, actually, he could have a RICO conspiracy, and then in the overact, it could be a murder. You understand what I'm saying? If you look at the conspiracy that they actually have, I think it says engaged in multiple criminal activities, including extortion, robbery, fraud, and murder. So they have several crimes. You know what I'm saying? So those crimes, you're gonna have in a RICO conspiracy, you have a verdict. Usually, it's a multiple verdict type form, meaning the first question that's going to be asked is whether or not he's guilty of the RICO conspiracy. Then once he is guilty of the conspiracy, then you're going to say, do you think he was involved in the following acts? And then they're going to identify the acts that's contributed to his name. Then those acts is going to determine how much time he gets in jail.
No, that makes sense. Hey, what's interesting too is how often throughout that paperwork we saw media platforms, YouTube, podcasts, and interviews. I mean, from No Jumper to Academics Vlad, all y'all favorite platforms is in this RICO. I'm just as a lawyer and somebody that looks at it from a law perspective. Like, what do you make of this just environment that's going on YouTube with either people self-incriminating themselves, or to me it feels like the rate is getting faster at which we keep seeing these podcasts and YouTube interviews being used as evidence. Like, what do you make of that?
Well, I think that the government has found something that's actually perfect for them to convicting people of these cases because of social media. You have so many people that's telling on themselves or telling on other people. You understand what I'm saying? You have so many people that's making themselves potential witnesses to other cases or other crimes because of their telling where they was at, who they was with, and what they witnessed and what they seen. I think it's in some cases, not all cases, it violates your First Amendment right to freedom of speech, especially if the podcast is something that's dealing with entertainment or education. You understand what I'm saying? Because a podcast, if you go back to the example that I gave with the government's DEA 6 forms and 3 forms, when making these statements are not made under the penalties of perjury, nor are these statements made or these podcasts given with the understanding that that person or that person who's being interviewed understands that he's making self-incriminating statements in violation of his Fifth Amendment right. Okay, and then it's also in violation if they use it against you of your First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
Got you. Hey, do you think, is it too far-fetched to think that the feds might be in bed with some of these platforms? If not directly, kind of indirectly incentivizing them, would there be, I don't know, if they giving them money or however they do it? Like, is that a far-fetched idea? Or
no, I think most definitely. I think that they fund a lot of these people. They allow them to do whatever they do as far as violating codes and stuff like that to run certain things on their podcast because they get information. That information is now before a crime might happen and the officer would go out in the field and do interviews, knock on doors. They don't do that no more. You know what they do now? A crime happened, they get a name, they go to YouTube, they go to Facebook, they go to social media. They got posts. You know.
Yo, that's funny. The first, I think, 4 or 5 footnotes that was talking about Big U was all referencing docu-series interviews and things, exactly what you're speaking of. I mean, it's like a turnkey investigation.
You see it also happen to Keefe D. Same thing.
That's a good example.
You know, a lot of these rappers, what they were doing with Young Thug, it was his songs, his music. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. Yo, I'm gonna say allegedly, and this is my opinion because I don't want to get sued by Adam or something. There is a part in this paperwork where the feds were talking about, I think, confidential human sources, but in one part they specifically mentioned a CCTV and a place being wired and bugged. And if I'm not mistaken, it was shortly after they talked about the whole Luce Cannon interview on No Jumper. Just to me, like just my face value, I'm like, yo, it felt like they're talking about No Jumper might be wired with fucking audio and you know what I mean, and visual bugs and shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past,
Cause just think about it, y'all. Like, we've seen how many people from No Jumper went to jail. Just even the Crips, right? You got Luce Cannon, you got Bricc Baby, 4 extras in jail. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. At some point, we got to take a step back and look at this. Like, what's going on in this?
I just want to say this, Mom.
What's up?
Real good content. I just want to say this. If you active in them streets, man, and you get on camera and talk about the crimes that you did a year ago, it's different when you talk about crimes you did 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But if you're a person who claims they're active in the streets or you're dealing with individuals who are active in the streets, you're going to get looked at. There's a saying, guilty by association. That's why you watch you put in your videos. That's why you watch who you get in your car. Motherfuckers get shot just because they homie out there did some shit and they seen you with the person. If they can't get you, they going to get him. If they can't get him, they going to get you. So I get what you're saying, but I look at it like if you go on camera and you're on gang file or you're on some type of activity which you already know what it is, you getting online, you talking, man. Like, you just, come on, man. Like, there's really nobody that needs to tell anything. Like,
look, Cannon, they don't give a fuck, bro. This shit,
been like this since what? Since the fucking internet started. Niggas been doing dumb shit on camera, dumb shit online, getting booked for it. At this point,
Right.
these niggas don't care. You ain't gotta warn them or give them no disclosure for the shit. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
So
that's
when they get booked for this dumb shit, or when they get booked for online dumb shit, we should do exactly what we do, talk and listen to it, and none of us should be surprised because all them niggas knew exactly what they doing. Cause most of these niggas is Pat, bro, that's actually interesting, right? Hey, yeah. Tommy, this might be a question for you. So on one hand, like we got some people on the internet, you know, that's throwing out threats, that's, you know, they're doing everything that seems illegal or that somebody in the street would not want to do. So like, what do you make of this? I guess my question is, on one hand, why is it that we're seeing some people get, I guess, in trouble with the law for these things they do on the internet, and some people seem to constantly do it, yet there's no like repercussions for it? And I guess, yeah, First Amendment or like what's going on there? Who do it and don't get no repercussions for it? You want to know a name specifically? Yeah. Yeah, like what Whack 100 is a good example, right? Because a lot of people make this argument that he's constantly on the internet. But the thing about Whack, if you listen to him carefully, he ain't admitting no shit he doing. He was talking about other shit that we all kind of pretty much know already, or he putting the light to it. I don't. Well, yeah, I don't know that. So I can't say that because that would mean I'm saying from just listening on here, he not admitting to shit. What does that look like from a law perspective, Tommy? Like,
about half an hour. Give me call back about a half an hour. All right. Okay.
My bad. What did you say?
Hey, yo, Mom.
Yo, is Tommy still there? Or...
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still. I got a quick phone call. I'm sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no worries. No,
but listen, you asked that question how some people get away with it.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Let me explain to you, right? Let's say I'm the government, right? And you got a decent podcast, and your podcast is giving me information that supports convictions, because that's how I make my money, through convictions, right? I'm going to let your podcast stay on, and I'm going to let you do what you do, and I'm just going to monitor it. You follow what I'm saying? But if it's somebody that's getting on there and I think that they're reckless and they're dangerous and they could either hurt somebody or somebody's going to hurt them based upon what they're saying, then I would step up and say something or do something.
The difference is, see, some people be on there trolling, and you know they not really in the streets like that. They want to be or act like they are, but they not. They're trolling, and then you got people that's really doing criminal activities on there. You think just because it was 2 or 3 years ago or 5 years ago that you did this shit, but then people are still watching, and people trying to build cases. You know they don't like us. But for Big U to have all that shit going on, like he's stupid. That's greed. Black people get so greedy that you still engaging in these criminal activities. You extorting the community. You're not helping the community. But no, right now I'm gonna speak on him because his actions was greed.
No, but don't throw us.
Well, I love my people. No, but everybody is, but it's something. But just like we charge more for us, like Black people do it on a different level sometimes. Everybody greedy. Yes, you're right. But sometimes.
Hey, but your point's still valid though. Like I'm on the same page you on it, vet. Like none of that, yo. If it's a cancer in our community, we gotta cut it. We can't keep maintaining generation after generation because we can't grow like that. That's why we stuck in the same place we are. Because the people that are leading us, the people in power, this is what they doing in reality, allegedly, right? Because these are just allegations. But I read that indictment too. If any of that shit that he was doing in them communities is true, get that nigga the fuck up out of here. In my opinion.
That's real talk. It could have been another kid. Could have been another kid.
In your community, though. You got to do something in your community. Where you at? Every community, though. But I'm saying, what's an argument? I'm saying, I'm not. It's not no argument to you, bro. I'm saying,
we got to do it in our community. It's
No,
not
fact.
contesting with you, bro.
Like keyword N, 100%.
Hey, yo, you got to look at this too, Amon. When you look at the demographics of individuals who commit certain actions or anything, especially like in California, like the communities is real segregated. So you can be from the Western community, but you know what I'm saying? You don't really rock with the Vernon community. It'll get weird. So that's when people talk about communities. Like I take care of my community, but we might be terrorizing the community right next door to us that look just like us, but they might rock the, you know, a different color, or you know, they might, you know, a different slang or whatever like that. But that's what it is, because people in California definitely take care of the community. We just not take care of your community.
No, 100%.
That's the sad part about it, bro. That's the sad part.
But the problem with Big U is though, bro, he's in a position of power. That's not really the regular guy in the community. The nigga's making upwards of $2 million from the GRID program, right? In order so he can help keep that community safe. So on the flip side of that, when in reality, they're saying, my nigga, you out here extorting any and everything moving. And I'm willing to bet you're not out here extorting these white dudes, right?
Exactly.
So, like, how do you reconcile that? It's just, I agree with Yvette 100%. Like,
dog. I feel like everybody is right in a different sense, but I mean, I just look at it like this: you can't extort no white people if ain't no white people around to extort. Like, how many white people are really going through South Central like that, bro? Like, how many white people?
But the lesson in this is to stop extorting. It's not to extort white or black.
No, you right about business.
That extortion is wrong.
No, you right, but no, she did make a good point. It's a lot of businesses that get extorted, white businesses and all that, and you do have different communities that will extort these businesses, whether it's right or wrong. Like, you go to certain communities, they extorting the local corn man around this motherfucker. Like, he get real with the extortion, and you absolutely right. I just feel like, you know, at the end of the day, everybody takes care of their community, but we not taking care of yours, and that's the problem. I don't think Big U is the monster that they put him out to be. I do believe, you know, of course, you know, he might have some activity going on, as we all do, you know, whether it's good or bad, you know, but we all did some shit in our life, you know, past or present, that's probably fucking some shit up, or did fuck some shit up. But I definitely believe he did something good in the community. That's just my personal opinion.
No, that's fair too. You know what I mean? And like I said, these are just allegations. But when these allegations are saying that, yo, the feds got you on wiretap, verbatim, I'm not making this up. He verbatim saying, I'm the only nigga from my generation still out here killing niggas. If anybody, and he literally said, if anybody got a problem with me, they gone. But besides that, though, I think a good example of, like, because they're both from that community, is like Nipsey and Big U, right? On one hand, that nigga Nipsey was pushing into that community. Like, it was a multiplier effect, right? Whatever he was doing was helping the next man. From what it looks like in these allegations, like I said, they're allegations. It's the opposite with Big U, yo. The facade is, it sounds good. You're here for the kids. You're making up worse than $2 million. But nigga, it's an allegation in there about you killing a young man from that community.
Hey, but you know what? You absolutely right. And I look at it like this: you have cartel bosses and mob bosses and crime bosses where they was giving out presents for New Year's. Look at American Gangster; they give out presents for New Year's and shit. And he just blew a motherfucker head clean and smooth off around the corner. So, we gotta keep it on the community though. Like, I don't think cartels are their community leaders. No, real shit. Like, no. I'm saying you have people who commit heinous crime.
He make a point for the simple fact that that nigga know better, bro. Mr. California, all y'all, we from the struggle. We come from nothing. We know better than to be doing the shit we doing, especially at that age, man. So I can't cut him no slack.
He's not a good person. He's not a good person like that. Like, real niggas in LA, real men in LA from his own hood. Real men from his own hood don't even mess with him, and he don't fuck with them because he know not to. Like, everybody not going for that.
Yeah, Tommy's still here. Yo, salute.
My bad. We got caught up
in
the back and forth.
Man, listen, I was listening, man. I think y'all having a beautiful conversation, man, because that's where it is, you know, recognizing you're wrong and just being accountable, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, some of the things, if they're true, was very bad. But I can say this, not so much in his defense, but in our defense as people. I've witnessed a lot of people being convicted or charged for crimes that they didn't do. And I'll just use myself to be real personal with it, that I was convicted of a drug kingpin, actually a super drug kingpin. Was I a super drug kingpin? Never that. But this is the story that they sold. This is the story that they sold, and this is the story that they had people believe that what I did. But I also have helped and assist a lot of people in their cases and realize that they're no longer the persons that they are. I'm assisting X. I don't know if y'all heard X on last week. Xavier Williams.
Yeah.
Sex, murder, money out of the Bronx. I'm assisting him in this case. He has if you read his case, he has a very bad case that they talk about him and the things he did, his family did, and stuff like that. But in the last 4 or 5 years I've been working with Xavier, he's a beautiful person, man. He's changed. He's acknowledged his errors. He's focused on rehabilitation. He's trying to change his life and so on. Our biggest problem, again, is educating ourselves and understanding what it takes to get a fair trial, to get our constitutional rights, to clean our community up for people like me who did sell drugs in the community, come back and make amends and try to do the right thing. You know, Big Chuck will tell you that I tell him when I come on, man, I want to promote positive things. I want to promote educating people on how the system works, how the system operates. I want to promote positive change, people deserving a second chance. Okay, so you did all these crimes. How much time is enough time? You understand what I'm saying? Do we give everybody a life sentence? You know, and so on. But that's a beautiful conversation that y'all having, and I think that you guys need to keep that up and keep that up in this podcast, and you know, speak and not speak over each other. What you guys are doing an excellent job of doing without the yelling and stuff like that, and respecting one another's opinion. That's it.
Yo, what's the word though, man? Like I see everybody, man. Like I know Tommy, you know, we've been on for like an hour and a half, whatever. And I appreciate you, Tommy, man, for just stopping in, bro, and giving us some type of insight on this particular case, because this probably the best they ain't got on this particular case, you know. And you know, like let's just say that Big U needed to reach out to you, he can, right?
Yes, most definitely, no doubt. You know,
Can
I
you
don't
share your information?
I don't hold no grudge against anybody, and I think everybody deserves a second chance, you know, and it's not too late to learn or to better yourself, you know. And you know, I think he just needs a fair trial, you know what I'm saying? You know, you can never have a fair trial, for example, when you have 50 people, and those 50 people can get paid by the government to testify and tell a story about you. You know, it's going to be the worst story of your life, whether you did it or not. You know, how do you defend it? You know, that's what I look at. That's what I think about when I help in these high profile cases. You know.
Yeah, because I heard him on the A-Mon. You heard him too. He was pretty much saying like, man, if anybody can help, can they reach out? But you know, in this case, you know, y'all reach out to Tommy, man. Hey, Tommy, let them know where they can find you at.
Okay. Well, my website is Second Chance for Real. That's the number 4. Okay. The second is the number 2 ND. Like I said, we work on a lot of high profile cases. We work on the cases that nobody else want to work on. And we look for back doors. Back in the days, most of the attorneys, they used to draft law, draw law, try to make law and create law. They don't do that anymore. They actually work hand in hand with the government. When they're working on these cases, they ask the government, what is it you think? What do you think we should do? What do you think? What are you willing to offer us? And then they just go with it because that's the easy way out. But us, we tried to find ways. We just work hard. We work hard. Like I said, you know, we don't treat people as a number, and our focus point is to try to get them back home with their family, regardless of what they've done in the past and stuff like that, and hoping that getting them back home with their family would change them, you know. But you can find us under Second Chance for Real. My website, we actually got a chat box that we putting together, and that chat box will be something soon that you'll be able to drop down on your phone. You could be stuck in a traffic violation. You could be about to get arrested. You can just get on the phone, ask the chat box what you should do, and it'll give you some legal guidance, some legal education on decisions to make. For example, I just got pulled over by the cops. I don't have my license. Can I go to jail? It'll address your questions, answer your questions, and so on. You know, but I said, give me another 2 weeks or so, and it'll be up and it'll be on the market. We're trying to offer it to all our clients for free. But we're going to try to make our money through it by also offering it to lawyers so that they could use it in their office and stuff and so on.
No, man, again, man, this was a dope episode, man. I appreciate you, Tommy, man. It's fame or clout, man. Y'all know what it mean. Death for the clout chaser. You know, man, you just keep being in tune with what we got going on, because we have dope people like Tommy Walker up on the platform, as well as, you know, people just telling their stories, because it don't matter if you the most famous motherfucker or you're less famous than the next person, right? It's a lot about these jewels, you know, and the stuff that Tommy is talking, I'm telling you, you can use that in your regular life, man. You can use that with your friends and family members. You know what I'm talking about? So just stay in tune, man. If you got to, rewind it a few times and try to get some sort of understanding, because one thing about Tommy, even when I'm asking questions, he like, hold on, let me go revert back to that and let you know. So now you understand, and y'all will hear me like, oh yeah, now I understand. So, you know, that's good for the conversation, because that's real. It's organic. Hey, Tommy, you got anything to leave them with?
Yeah. First and foremost, and most importantly, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank you for what you're doing, and because it gives us an opportunity to get together and to learn from one another. Each one teach one throughout our conversations, our questions, and our answers, and our respect for one another.
For sure, bro. Appreciate you. Anybody on Clubhouse got a question for Tommy before you get up out of here?
Nah, I don't got a question, man. Thanks for your time, though. Salute. Appreciate it.
No problem.
No doubt.
Big Chuck, what I'd like to do though too, coming soon, once I get finished with this app, I'd like to come on one day and introduce my app and allow the people to come on the air and ask their legal questions, because the app could also be a fact checker, a fact checker for like conversations like these and pods. When you're having podcasts, you can just get on the phone.
I'd use it. You know, I use it, bro.
Right. Okay.
For sure.
And ask questions and help you verify it. You know, I'm trying to connect it to that's the holdup right now. I'm trying to connect it to the PACER system. It's already there, but I want to be able to pull down documents, pull down testimony statements, affidavits, and stuff like that. So when people are talking about certain topics, you'll be able to have the information firsthand.
Dope. That's game changing. And I've been saying it since the beginning. Like that's definitely something that I utilize. And even like I said before, even with like say a criminal case or something that could be potential a criminal case, and someone's asking a question, like, you know, everybody, you know, watch their credit, right? I asked it about some credit shit, and it gave me forms on how to, you know what I'm saying, dispute my credit situation. So it's not just for like no, you know, criminal case or whatever. It's for law, period.
Right.
So that's dope, man. That's dope. Salute to that. But yeah, man, we gonna get up out of here, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If y'all got any questions, definitely email Tommy about them. If y'all got any, you know, people that need his help, email them. You know, you want to holler at me, I'm on Death for the Cloud Chase on Instagram. You know what I mean? So, you know, I usually get back on my DM within a few days. So, you know, we gonna get it, man. We gonna get it, man, because it's only us, man. It's only us.
Right.
Salute. Peace and blessings.
All right, brother. Peace and blessings.